Welcome to Action Takers Authors, and I am excited today to introduce you to Anisha Wharton, and she is one of the co-authors of No One Said It Would Be Easy. This book is coming out in a couple of next week, right?
Yeah,
Um,
couple
yeah,
weeks.
so we're really excited about this. We expect this to be number one best-selling book. We have 11 women in this book, and they are all incredible. And Anisha is one of them. Anisha, why don't you just introduce yourself to everybody and tell a little bit about what you do?
My name is Anisha Wharton, and I actually am a healthcare executive with more than 20 years of experience in STEM. And so I work for a company that makes drugs for people who have cancer. And so I am participating in this book. I wrote a chapter called The Weight of Unfinished Dreams. And it explores the grief that many women often go through over their life, and they get to a point in their life, really midlife, and they start to think about and imagine what their life may have been like had they stayed on the path that they originally thought they were going to go down when they were younger. And so I really wanted to focus on creating a space for people to really examine what they need to do to stop waiting and be intentional about the life that they really wanted to create and live. Because we can't go back, right? But we can often just be reflective and look at what types of things that really make us happy as women and as people and move forward in that space so we can live the life that we truly deserve and that we want for ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, I think a lot of people hit that that empty nester, right? You get your kids are grown, you've spent now 30 years driving your kids around, taking care of them, taking care of everybody else, and now you realize that you neglected yourself.
Hmm.
And and that's a big nut to swallow. I think that's really hard for women to realize that, you know, okay, I've taken care of everyone else. My dreams, my goals, everything I wanted was stopped, was put on hold. And now what? What's my next step?
Right. And I think oftentimes, even from a cultural perspective, it is expected that women kind of stop um, stop the goals and the dreams that they had as a young person and as you mature in age for the dreams and goals of your family, for that of your partnerships or marriage. And those things kind of get suppressed in a deep place. And sometimes you don't even realize that it's happening. It's just the hubbub of life is circling. You're moving fast. You're taking care of your kids. You're taking care of your family. You have careers. You're going to school. And before you know it, years pass by, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And then the realization hits you, oh man, what what have I accomplished that I've set out to accomplish? I've taken care of everybody else. And as you mentioned, you forget to, you neglect yourself. And that realization is often very heavy.
Yeah.
Um, mhm.
And the way I look at it, there's two ways you can go when you hit that point, right? You can go down, you can say, oh, and get depressed and sit around and, eat eat a pint of ice cream and lament about your life, or you can rise up and do something and say,
Hmm.
well, you know what, it didn't happen, but I still have a lot of life left. I can still do stuff. And
Right.
and take that time now to go after it. So I think it's that choice that you make once you have that awareness and once you know, okay, I my dreams didn't happen. I've been kind of, putting myself on the back burner. What do I do now?
Right. And I think for me, coming to this stage in my life, I guess what we call midlife, right? It wasn't for me, it's not about getting older per se, because I look at myself in the mirror. I don't feel like I look my age, but I think what I feel as you mentioned, is just becoming more aware, asking different questions, just having those conversations with myself to get to the answers of what is going to make me happy at this point in my life, of the things that I felt that I was going to do at this age. Are there things that I can still do? Do I want to still do those things? Because a lot of us have just been marching along, and we have dreams that were deferred by survival. We just surviving every day, surviving jobs lost,
Mhm.
the financial burdens of taking care of your family, of motherhood, caregiving, burnout. So we have all these heavy things. And so just acknowledgement and awareness of, I'm not a failure, but what can I do to make those dreams that I postponed a reality now? What new dreams do I want to fulfill?
Yeah. And it comes down to breaking those routines, right? You have the Groundhog Day, right? So you get up, you make your coffee, you go to work, you come home, you watch t you prepare dinner, you sit down, you watch TV, and the next day you do it all over again. And you don't think that you have time to do anything different, but you're in this routine that it's
Yeah,
really hard sometimes to get
out
yourself
of.
out of.
Hmm. Yeah, it is hard to get out of the routine. It's hard to break free of the things that you're so used to doing. But it is something that you have to be really intentional about, and breaking those cycles, learn from your past, grow from it, move on. And I think that's where so many of us struggle, and how to take those initial steps to break out of that rut, or break out of the cycle, or even just examining, what you really want out of the life that you have now. Like, you can't go back, as we were saying earlier, but you can put your wish list together of what you want moving forward.
Yeah, well, we're talking to Anisha Wharton. She is one of the co-authors of the book No One Said It Would Be Easy. If you're interested in finding out more, head on over to actiontakerspublishing.com/easy. There you'll find ways to order the book. You'll find all the co-authors, and information. All the information you need is right over there. Um, so Anisha, tell us a little bit more about the work that you do.
So, in my professional career, I am a scientist. I've been in biotech and pharma for over 20 years now. And so, for the past probably 15 or 16 of those years, I've worked for companies, small, medium, and large, who made drugs for people who had cancer, different types of cancer, kidney cancer, lung cancer, breast cancer, etc. Um, and so we are creating the medicines, we're evaluating them in clinical trials, and hopefully coming up with a formula and brand that really works to give people more time with their families. And so we all know somebody with cancer. And so for me, that is something that is, a lifelong goal. It's heartwarming when you talk to patients that your therapies and medicines have really helped.
Is that something you always wanted to be when you were a little girl?
You know what? I knew that I always wanted to help people. I think when I was younger, I had aspirations of being a doctor, a physician. And I think when I got to college, I started taking my classes. I took a lot of courses in public health, epidemiology, public health, statistics, and I really got excited about that. And so after graduate school, I started to look at, well, is medicine in that sense something I want to do, or is there something greater that I can participate in where my impact might be larger? I didn't know anything about biotech or pharma. At that time in the early mid 90s, nobody was having those conversations with us in college. And it just so happened when I finished school, I worked at a temp agency that put me in a role at one of the largest biotechs in California. And so that was the beginning of a wonderful career that I've had so far. So it's been really exciting.
That sounds awesome. Well, your chapter is the weight of unfinished dreams. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your chapter in this book
Mhm.
and why and what are you sharing with the reader in it?
I think for me, the overarching message is about grief, and not the grief that we often think about in terms of death or losing somebody, but the type of grief that sometimes can overwhelm you when you are grieving the version of yourself that we never became. And I think when I was writing the book, that realization, I think, just hit me. And it took me to not necessarily a dark place, but a really reflective place, because you start thinking about all of the things that you imagine that you would have, the places that you would be. I reflected on motherhood because I always wanted to be a mother, but I had a medical condition called endometriosis, and it's a severe form of that never allowed me to be a mom. And that is something that for many, many women is a very mentally exhausting and traumatic place to land. And so just reflecting on that grief and what that particular medical condition stole from me, it stole motherhood and my ability to be a mother. And I think in that particular vein, what it does often for people, and especially for me in that space, is I try to find other ways to mother people or mother my, nieces, nephews, relatives. And you get into the cycle, you're providing that level of support for your family, for your loved ones, and you start to suppress that place that you wanted to have of motherhood, and you start to do the things for other people. You show up for everybody when they need it. And then you realize that, oh, wait a minute, I've forgotten myself in all of this mothering of other people. And I think also as somebody who's like this busy executive, burnout is really common, and it just has allowed me to pause, to slow down, to create the space for myself where I'm taking care of myself first. Like, okay, Anisha, you've taken care of everybody else throughout your whole adult life.
Mhm.
You need to create space and honor that space where you're taking care of yourself so you don't get sick physically. And you reflect and take an honest inventory of what you need in this stage of your life to be happy, to be healthy, and be whole. And just, reimagining what that looks like with purpose.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of people get stuck in that, they get stuck in that point and I love that. So what do you want the reader to take away from reading your chapter in this book?
I really want every woman who reads this to realize that she's not alone in grieving the life that she imagined. Um, but it is my hope that every single woman, every single person that reads it pauses long enough to take her own quiet inventory and not dwell on what's in the past, but really be intentional and create moving forward the life that, she wants to live with the time that we all have left on this earth. We never know what that time is. I could walk out on the street tomorrow and get hit by a bus. But what do we want our life to look like now that you are more aware about what you want to do and how you want to live your life? And for me, my the particular concept in the book that I talk a lot about, the quiet inventory, that is what that is all about.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. And if people want to connect with you, how can they reach out and connect with you?
You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, A Renee 16, or I think it's under my name, Anisha Wharton on LinkedIn. I would be happy to connect with anyone who wants to connect and
Awesome.
go buy the book.
That's
Yay.
it. That's it. Yes. Head on over to actiontakerspublishing.com/easy. Pick up your copy of No One Said It Would Be Easy. Anisha and 11 other co-authors are part of this book, and it is absolutely amazing. And we are so glad to have you as part of Action
Thank you, Sally.
Takers authors now, and look for us next time.
It's been a wonderful process, and I'm so excited for everything that we've accomplished together.
Awesome.